I'm recording. So the recording is in progress. This is the Board of Health meeting of October 5th, 2022. God help us. And can I get a vote approving the minutes of the previous meeting?
Move to approve.
Second.
In favor? Kat, yes.
Garrett, yes.
Arlene, yes.
Noreen, yes.
That's it. So I got an update today from oh, thank you. I must have bumped it and I couldn't get the panel back. So I got an update, a text from Greg about the demolition. On this coming Tuesday, National Grid is supposed to reconnect the electricity, which they incorrectly disconnected. So can someone send me a meeting passcode? Can somebody send Wim the meeting passcode? He must be having to dial in. It would be on the
email. In the email we were sent, right?
I'm not sure I put it in there.
Well, let's see.
I think I can do it.
No, it's not in there, Kat.
Oh dear.
Okay, not a problem. I can get it. And when we get Wim here, I'll tell him how to do it. Was that a text? Yeah. Okay, so I'll just send him the passcode. It is 528259. All right. Oh, I was saying that Greg is expecting National Grid to reconnect the electricity. And he says, as soon as the power is back on, my electrician will connect the well pump for the demolishing spray down. He also has said that he's been removing his own possessions and taking them to the landfill, hoping that that will speed things along. And he says, but also reduce the overwhelming difference in estimated and quoted prices. So that's where that is. Can we have a motion to basically to not take any action on this condemnation? Oh, there's Wim.
Hello.
Hi, Wim, you managed it.
Oh, man.
Okay, listen, this is how to get the meeting password if you need it. Go to the town website click on meetings, meeting calendars, and that will give you the big calendar. Then if you click on Board of Health, it'll show it on the day. Click on Board of Health and it'll give you all the meeting information there.
Okay.
That's where I went and got it just now.
Great.
You look very grainy and different.
I'm feeling a little grainy.
Okay, so we were just
Sorry to
talking
hear
about
that.
the condemnation at 56 Wendell Road, and that and I'm looking for a motion to take no action on the condemnation order for another month.
And
I move
what's
we take
everyone-
no action on the condemnation order for the next month.
Your second,
Second.
all in favor? Arlene,
Wim,
Oh,
aye. Ooh,
Arlene,
sorry.
yes.
I just heard Wim say yes. Noreen,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Kat, yes. Okay. We're set with that. Now, we've got some disposal works construction permits to knock off. One is at 11 Pine Drive. That's a tight tank. Charlie has recommended approval of that. Bless you. One is at 35 Weatherwood, which is that place up toward High Point Road up by Atkins Reservoir that's all wetlands there. They have to do an RDA before we can issue the permit, but I'd like to get a vote on the permit tonight so that I can go ahead and issue it once Concom is done with it. And the other one is actually 2 permits for a new duplex built by Peter Geese being built by Peter Geese at 40 and 42 Highland Drive. And those have already been installed. And somehow things got screwed up, as they often do when Bill Saruta is the engineer. But at this point, they've been installed. Charlie was okay with them. He's paid the fees for them, and he has even told me which one is which, so that we'll have actual supposedly correct records ultimately. And it was just a misunderstanding, really, that he didn't get the permit. So can I get a motion to approve all of these permits in the fullness of time and when everything is in order?
So moved.
Second.
Second, Noreen.
Okay, all in favor?
Arlene, yes.
Noreen, yes.
Garrett, yes.
Wim, was that a yes?
Yes.
Okay, Kat's a yes too. So that's that for all of those. Dina is supposedly going to come and join us in another 10 minutes or so. There's a couple of other things we can talk about. It's all about beavers this time. Tim asked for a beaver removal permit for Fisk Pond culvert. And there isn't anything they can do there but trap the beavers out because the water is basically flat. And the beavers build, I don't know if, I'm sure you've seen it, Noreen, maybe
Oh,
the
yeah.
others have too. The beavers build a dam right inside the actual culvert, which is one of those big rectangular jobs. And they just can build it and basically prevent water from getting into the lake. And that's supposedly that's like 80% of the water that comes into the lake comes in from the Fisk Brook.
Is that right?
That's what Bill told me. He said
Huh?
80% from there and about 20% from up by like Ames Brook.
Or South Brook, yeah.
Yeah, but that area over there.
Right.
Yeah. So I signed that and issued a 10-day permit. And he wanted me to not put any dates on it because the trapper said with the other jobs he's doing, he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to complete it in time. I said, I'll put the dates on it anyway. And if you need an extension, we'll just give you an extension. Might as well do it legally. The other thing is back down at Dudley Pond. Remember, I went to see that a while back, and we talked about having a water flow control device. But somebody turned up a kind of lost email from the Office of Dam Safety, and they had inspected the dam and not been very impressed. And one of their conditions was that no impoundment is allowed above that dam for fear of its being breached. This is the actual physical, the man-made dam, not the beaver-made dam. There's no impoundment allowed for fear that dam would give way. So we can't use a water flow control device there because we have to have no water piled up to use it in. According to Miriam, Wim, you are making me seasick.
I know, I'm having a little issue here.
I see.
I'll try not to move around so much.
Okay. Um, um, I'm confused here because Miriam said we need the Board of Health to issue some kind of emergency order to take the dam down. But then later on today, she sent out another email, and let me see if I can find it, saying some other thing, or not saying another thing, but asking the town sort of, how do you want to proceed? And it seems to me that if we go and issue an order, then that's it.
I'm very confused.
Well, I am too. So she sends this thing, Dudley Pond Dam and Culvert follow-up. And she talks about she says the Office of Dam Safety requires immediate removal of the beaver dam.
One thing that would help me is this confusion. I am confused regarding beaver dam and a man-made dam. Okay.
Okay.
And so
Miriam
Miriam is saying they need an order to dismantle
the beaver dam,
which is in Shutes. All of this is in Shutesbury.
Yes.
None of it is in Leverett.
No.
Okay. So they want to dismantle the beaver dam because it endangers the man-made dam. Is that what you're saying?
Essentially, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Office of Dam Safety says you can't.
And DEP saying there may be no impoundment above the which dam?
Above the man-made dam. That's Office of Dam Safety, actually. That's their requirement.
And they say that because to impound water above that dam might cause failure of the man-made dam.
Right.
Okay. So when they say no dam may be above, that includes beaver dams. Is that what the point is here? That there can't even be a beaver dam above the man-made dam.
Point is, there can't be impounded water. So if there's a beaver dam holding back water so that it's not just naturally flowing, that's impounded water.
And we have to do something about it. We're mandated to do something about it. Okay.
Right.
All right. And so then the confusion is because Miriam says, she suggests that Concom needs an order to dismantle the beaver dam.
Right.
But then later she says, how do you want to proceed? Do I have this straight?
Well, yeah, I mean, she is talking on and on and on, and then she ends it. Oh, Dina's in the waiting room. I'll let her in. And then she finishes up, please let me know how the town wishes to proceed and how I can assist. I don't know what her point is, but I'm thinking that probably we should just go ahead and issue an order to either David or Lois Brown. I'm not sure which one of them actually owns the dam.
Wait, people own the beaver dam?
No, the man-made dam.
They own the pond.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is a privately owned pond.
Oh.
You know where it is, Dudley Pond down at the bottom of Montague Road.
Well, I know where Dudleyville Road is. So at the town line, it sounds like.
Yeah, basically right at the town line. And it's owned, there's a brother and a sister, David and Lois Brown, and they both have houses there. And I'm not sure exactly who owns the pond, but it's like, it's their family property. So they have to apply basically it's their responsibility to take this beaver dam down so that they meet the requirements of the Office of Dam Safety.
Okay.
But they can't take it down unless we order them to, and then conservation can get into it, and then they can have an emergency certification so that it can be taken down. And it's just a nightmare of bureaucracy,
Right.
but that's how it is. And so what we are being asked to do is basically to issue an emergency order saying that this beaver dam has to be destroyed.
Okay.
And I don't see as we really have any choice in that
Yeah.
because the Office of Dam Safety has made this requirement. Why it needs an additional order from us, I don't know, but
Doesn't make any sense to me either.
Okay.
No,
layers
also
and layers and layers.
Thanks. That's
Re-
much more clear now.
removing a
Thank
dam, a beaver dam is a lot different than removing a beaver, right? They
Yes.
just rebuild.
Right.
So you're gonna have to go through this again and
Right.
again and again.
Right. So, and I know that it's within our scope to issue a beaver removal order, but I did not know it was within our scope to issue a dam deconstruction order, a dam demolition. order.
Apparently it is if there's a threat or a potential threat to human health or safety.
But Wim is right. Those damn beavers
So to speak.
are just going to redo over time.
That's true, but possibly by maintenance, they can keep it from building up again. You know, I mean, if you can go out in the daytime and they build it up again at night, but if you go out the next day and knock it down, then I guess you can achieve a standoff. I would not be surprised if they ended up trapping out, just because that's
Right.
big work.
Yeah.
But if they
Right.
do it, I think there's a legal beaver trapping season that starts, I think, November 1st and goes all the way through the winter and into the spring. So they wouldn't even have to ask for a permit from us. They could just do it. Or they could
Oh,
just order it done.
okay.
So I'm looking for a motion to authorize me to write an emergency order requiring the destruction forthwith of this beaver dam.
So moved, Noreen.
Second,
Second.
Arlene.
Okay, all in favor?
Noreen,
Arlene,
yes.
yes.
That's two.
Garrett, yes.
Wim, yes.
And Kat, yes. All right. I will get that out tomorrow. And that is, one or two. Well, since Dina is here, let's jump to that. And I have one or two other things to say after that. You're muted, Dina.
Pardon my intermittent baldness.
I see.
I know something bad.
Oh,
Oh, interesting.
that is spooky. So Dina is here about JCA, and apparently I get the impression that I should have informed the Cemetery Commission that we had something going on with this. It honestly didn't occur to me that that you had anything to do with a cemetery that wasn't the town cemeteries.
Every burial in town is recorded in town, or should be recorded at the town clerk's office. And someone looking for someone who is buried in town might come to us. But also, you know, we keep an eye on the JCA cemetery just because we have a responsibility to the dead in town, and they are some of the dead in town. A newly forming relationship with them, you know, just if they have concerns or we have concerns, or if they find somebody who's gonna dig more efficiently or quicker, or if they need help with something, I wanted us to have more communication. So I was aware that you know, so I don't want to give the Board of Health any impression that anyone is in the Cemetery Commission is ticked off. They're not, we're not. And I am here really as me, and because Kat asked me to drop in, and partly because I'm a green burial educator and concerned about the conversation that's happening and how it affects all green burials in town potentially, and that I just want to know what's happening and be aware, and this is in no way a turf challenge or anything like that. So
Okay, excellent. Yes, I was
this
hoping
is-
that you could kind of be a resource for us.
yeah,
But
it's
let
just-
me
let us
fill
be
you in.
resourceful for each other is really the thing, and exchanging and having open conversations. So that's all.
So let us fill you in with
Please.
about what is happening. The neighbors at number 210 on the that's the east side, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
uphill
yeah.
side,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, came to us with a concern that there were green burials there within 100 feet of their well, and they wanted I'm not sure what they wanted, but they wanted us to do something about it. And we started looking into it. We asked somebody from JCA to come in, and Sam came in, and we got to talking about it. And at the same time, we started looking into what regulations there are on the books at DEP. And Garrett, you kind of made a study of that. Do you want to take over here and talk about that?
Well, so the conclusion from DEP is that their view is that they would not have any regulatory authority in this case. There's no use change.
That's my understanding.
Property.
Yeah.
And also the public well at the school is not within the setback for this particular property. With that said, they point to a statute that allows boards of health pretty broad authority to regulate cemeteries as it relates to private wells. And so, DEP has guidance about what the setback requirements are for, a single green burial versus a density that gets up to 50 green burials per acre. And, so then the setback requirements increase from there. I think it's 750 at the 50 per acre mark.
If this were a newly formed green burial cemetery, the setback requirements from private wells would be 300 feet. And if the density were greater than 50 per acre, it would go up to 750 feet. Obviously, JCA could not possibly meet either one of those setback requirements. And since they are to some extent grandfathered, and since DEP is not asserting its authority
Well,
here,
they don't have any. Yeah.
right, they're leaving it to us. Now, we have a precedent for requiring 100-foot setbacks from a well, and we also have a precedent for requiring a soil evaluation of some sort in the affected area. And those are basically the requirements that we are trying to organize here. It's made complicated by the fact that nobody knows where anything is. And so we've asked for, on the site, there's wells, fairly close on, on three sides. We need to know where all that stuff is, how far it is from proposed burials and indeed actual burials. Sam is apparently working on getting a survey that's going to show
Where the burials are. It's pretty easy.
well, and also show, no, it's not the burials. We can see where the burials are. What we need to see is where the wells are.
the
right?
neighbors' wells on the three sides.
The neighbors' wells on the two sides and the three wells across the street. Because
Ah.
those wells are apparently, at least one of them, I know one of those wells is in the front. And I'm guessing that the other ones might be too. I would have thought those wells would be in the back, farther from the road, but at least one of them is up front. So we need to know where they are and then
And the
work
actual
out.
boundaries of the cemetery.
Yeah, no, all of
Yeah.
this makes sense to me. I mean, the JCA The JCA established their cemetery without even once having a hello with the town over this. And so when I got onto the cemetery commission, one of the first things I did was I called them up and I said, hi, we should be friendly. We should have a relationship now because you have a cemetery in our town. And so we have an interest in what happens there, but also so that, you know, there are eyes keeping an eye, people keeping an eye on things that might happen there. So this was an important conversation to have with them. It was really friendly. And I think all of these, I mean, you know, we're trying with Shutesbury Cemetery, the Cemetery Commission is starting to plan now a radar map so we actually know where the bodies are, let alone the boundaries of things.
Cool.
You know, so all of these things are actually normal for cemeteries to have to do periodically. And they're normal questions, I think, for a town to ask. Did you really ask them for a perk test? And do you know that there is no perk test required for green burial because there are soil tests that we do?
Right, yeah, you know, perk test
was
was the wrong thing for me to say. I tended to say perk test when I mean something like deep hole observation. We did
But
want
even
some
then,
kind of.
it's not so much a water thing. So what I want to say to you guys just informationally about a grave. You might test the water table if you thought you had a location where the water table was high, you might test the water table to see how far deep you could dig a grave without standing water in it. That would be pertinent. In the sand we have in that site, it's not an issue. There's great drainage there. The issue around soil testing, especially in sandy soil and green burials, is, you know, what's the microbial community in the soil that's going to help decomposition. And depending on that community, the microbial community, you might want to bury a little deeper or a little more shallow. You know, those are good things to know, but those are soil testing things and not water. There is no time where I mean, the reasons we don't perk test burial grounds is that there's no time where you're pushing 120 gallons of water through the grave.
Oh, right, I certainly hope not.
You know,
right. Yeah, I
so,
mean, we were thinking about basically, you know, locating groundwater.
have you
locating the
told them
depth.
that you're not asking for a perk test? Because that the letter, I think, mentioned one, didn't it?
Yeah, I think we did. No, I'll get back to Sam and
Yeah,
point
because
out
they
that
were a
that's
little
not quite what
freaked
we're
out
doing.
because they were like, we
Okay.
were told we didn't need to do that stuff. I mean, they've had a lot of consultation around their green burial, not from me, but from other people in the community. And, you know,
Unfortunately, whoever consulted with them didn't say, check with your local board of health and see if they have anything to say about this.
I checked with her and she doesn't remember whether or not she said, check with your local board of health. And I mentioned that she needs to make sure she does say that to people, because it's no, this conversation is completely avoidable.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Sam was going like, oh, you know, this is all so new. And I said, well, it wouldn't have been, you know.
I had a similar conversation with him, but I have to say that previous to the last few years, the Shutesbury Cemetery Commission was more impenetrable to conversation. And I think that the way that Mary Jo brought green burial to the town really opened up a lot there, and it's been easier. And that the JCA burial ground was established before that shift. So I think that
if they'd tried, it might not have worked.
I had been on the cemetery commission when they started all this. I would have said to them, please have a conversation with the Board of Health. It's necessary so that we are all playing in the same sandbox, literally, because it is a sandbox.
Right. Right. So what can you tell us about the kinds of soil analysis that would be appropriate here?
That's a good question, and I don't have the exact answer. I know that Walter should be able to tell you the kind of soil test that was done at the West Cemetery for the green
Okay.
burials there.
Okay.
And it was something fairly standard, but it did involve digging. And
Like
and
big digging with a
about-
backhoe or small digging with a shovel?
no, I believe not with a backhoe, but I may be wrong. It's not, you know, green burial is in a hole that's only usually 3.5 to 4 feet deep. It's not the kind of
Right,
thing.
we actually put the depth in our requirements for the cemetery,
Right,
for your cemetery.
right. Which, because we had a conversation with you about
Right, a long and involved
so
conversation,
that, you
yeah.
know, which is
Yeah, it was
very
good.
important to do. So,
So Dina, tell me this, do you know about, I mean, they're using these mounded burials at JCA. Does that mean that the bodies are more shallow in under the soil horizon?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think, but I haven't talked to them specifically, and Sam and I didn't have time for that part of the conversation, and I wasn't sure he really knew,
Mhm.
honestly. But I will be getting to that in the next week or two with them, because
Okay.
I did take photos of the burial mounds there, because, you know, I was like, why is this being so concerning all of a sudden? And I went and looked, and I was like, I can see if I didn't understand how this worked, it would look really different to me. And so the graves were a little more mounded than I'm used to seeing, and I have seen lots. I mean, so I'm a green burial educator and burial shroud maker, and I help people do this. So I've been to lots of different kinds of green burials, and I haven't seen one quite as mounded as these are. So I don't know what's up with their practices and whether they're adding more soil on top, expecting it to settle, because in other green burial grounds, once a month or so, someone might come around and help that settle a little more. There's some camping that happens. I'm not sure they're doing that, so there's just things I'm not sure about yet.
Yeah, it doesn't look that way, does it? If when you look at the mounds, they don't look like somebody's tamping them down.
No, and I did send the photos to one of their consultants, and she was like, huh. So she was going to talk to them too. So I think that it's possible that there certainly needs to be a correction in their communication with the town. And there's certain, and which from my conversation and communication with Sam, should be really easy to make happen. I anticipate it being open and warm and friendly. And there should also be, I'm glad to hear what the DEP had to say. I completely understand why you chose that as a route of inquiry. I wish there was a better way to address the neighbor's concern about water, and really there is. So I am going to suggest that you all get in touch with Lee Webster at newhampshirefuneral.org. You can tell her I sent you. She is the national expert on green burial, and can give you the most up-to-date scientific reference about the water issue with green burials near a well. And
That'll be helpful.
I am not a scientist, and she has, like, so if I was going to be presenting about this, I would have an hour-long conversation with Lee first and take notes and then come present. But I think you all speaking with her directly, and my guess is if you invite her to a meeting, she'll come. Or if you just want to talk to her on the phone, she'd be happy to. And she knows I live in Shutesbury. We talk a lot. She knows who I am, and she's really the person I think who has the most definitive information and explanation of what really happens. But if you go to the website, newhampshirefuneral.org, not funerals, you will see information for boards of health and information for municipalities about how to plan green burial ground. And a lot of the information may be there for you. A lot of it is New Hampshire based, but plenty of that translates in terms of common sense to Massachusetts, especially to rural Massachusetts.
Dina, hi, it's Wim. Hey,
Hi, Wim.
do you know if JCA in their numbered plots, if those are just planning for the future and dividing up the space, or have they actually already sold those plots?
I'm not sure. My guess is that a significant number of them have been sold.
Okay.
I think that I've always wondered why they chose such a small piece of land for their burial ground. I think they had a really difficult time finding a place, and it is small. They are going to outgrow it. But that's their problem and not our problem.
Right.
Honestly, but yeah, I think, I don't know how they mapped out that cemetery and how they, how many plots they divided it into and whatnot.
We have the map of that. We can send you that if you're interested in seeing the proposal for the whole
Oh, I'd
thing,
love
which may have to be tweaked a little bit depending on the location of those other wells. And I just want you to understand, Dina, that we're not opposed to this.
I know.
We're not anxious about it particularly, but we're trying to balance two imperatives here. One is in not only the neighbors and their concern, but also the kind of DEP regulations that do exist out there. And the other is trying not to get in the way of JCA using their property as they wish. So we're trying to map out a middle ground here.
The way that this was brought to my attention was an email that says, "What's up with the town of Shutesbury?" And I said, tell me your story.
Tell me more. Yeah.
Tell me your story, and then I'll reach out to the Board of Health and have a really mellow conversation. I think that it's so important for the Board of Health to do its due diligence when a citizen raises a concern. And it seems to me that that's what you're all doing. And the thing of the perk test, you really do have to tell them that that's not what you're asking them to do, because it was
right.
extreme.
I'll do that tonight. I'll do that tonight.
So, what we can all do together, the JCA and the Board of Health and the Cemetery Commission, is clarify. And I think for the abutter who's raised the concern, gather the information, and there's a lot of it, that will address their concerns about their well.
Right, that would be good, and that sounds like this Lee Webster will be a good source for that. At last time we met, one of the abutters said, the last thing he said was, and then this was a rhetorical question, but he said, why wouldn't the Board of Health impose the same setback requirement that DEP recommends? And that's a perfectly legitimate question, and we need to be able to answer it.
And part of that, I think, that we're going to have to contend with is the DEP regulations talk about this density of 50 burials. And what is not clear in that is, I think when they put forth the guidance on this, that they were thinking of sort of mixed use if you will, that it's green and traditional burials.
That would
within an
be
acre.
hybrid.
Yeah, hybrid. Yeah, hybrid.
That's what we call those cemeteries.
And so the JCA is not a hybrid.
Yes, it is.
But in terms of what they're proposing to do moving forward, right?
Right,
Well,
their whole proposal for the future is green,
Is green.
just green,
Yeah.
just green.
no
That's
coffin.
what,
Just green, no coffins or coffins.
I don't know, but you know, the biodegradable coffins and no embalming and, you know, basically natural burial, all green. That's what Sam said.
Can I whisper something to you? Every Jewish burial, if it's traditional, is green,
Yeah.
pretty
Right,
much.
because there's no embalming.
Because there's no embalming and there's no they're plain pine coffins. They're not lined, they're not sealed with steel and
Right.
so most traditional Jewish burials don't have all that. Some do. So I'm not saying all, but most. And so, yes, it will be a hybrid cemetery, but if they're only doing green burials going forward, which means they're changing regulations, and I don't know if they have cement vaults in some of those graves there, which means if they're going green, they will not be having vaults anymore, etc.
And that was kind of my understanding from Sam.
Yeah. So, that the thing is that yeah, it's there's so many things running through my head at the same time. I really feel confident that with careful consideration and conversation and some reasonable soil testing and some really kind of important research about what really happens to decomposing bodies and water and wells nearby, and that we can come up with a solution that's that answers the abutters questions in a reasonable way and makes functioning possible for the JCA.
Well, you know, our reasoning when this first came up, I guess, in terms of the West Cemetery, and that's like 5 years or more, it was that we have 100-foot setback from wells for septic systems, and a septic system is far dirtier than a burial, right? So if we have 100-foot setback, it should be amply safe. Why DEP is talking about 300 feet, I don't know. And why DEP is making an issue of burial density is also mysterious to me, because it's not like they're going to dig up a whole acre and put 50 bodies in it all on the same day. I mean, you put a body in the ground and it decomposes. Put it, another month, you put another body in the ground, that one's going to decompose too. It's not like you're going to have a huge density of 50 corpses
that quickly
all
and
together.
Never,
Right.
We hope.
We really hope
Right.
this was right. I'm like,
Right. Yeah.
But
Right.
And the density on conventional burials with all that cement and formaldehyde leaching into soil is a lot more detrimental to groundwater, i.e.
Right.
period. And plus the pesticides that they use in conventional cemeteries to keep the grass green. I went to a cemetery management conference and it just blew my mind what they put into those places. So we don't do any of that here, which would be, again, more detrimental to people's wells. And I just think talking about it until we come to clear solutions is the way to go.
Right. Well, what we envision is that we'll finally get a picture of where the other wells are. We'll get some 100-foot circles drawn around those wells, and that will show them where is the best, where they can have these burials, and it'll
Right.
be okay with us. There is one question that's not really a question for you, but I'll just mention it, basically for the board. DEP sent us a very unhelpful letter and basically saying nothing, but except that we're not going to get involved in this, which is a lot. But as far as giving us any practical recommendations, there was nothing. But they do refer to the Board of Health's authority to make regulations. And I'm wondering if making a regulation, going to the trouble of actually having a regulation is the way we're going to have to deal with this, or if it's okay for us just to try to get the voluntary cooperation of JCA in meeting our requirements, the requirements that we would put in a regulation if we were going to do a regulation.
My first thought is to issue guidelines. And then if they blow off the guidelines, create a regulation, because you can do that.
That's a good thought. Having guidelines is a good thought. I mean, so far, they've been really cooperative and helpful.
That's my sense, is that they want to be.
Yeah, they don't want to be doing something unneighborly or unkind or
No,
dangerous.
this was just kind of surprising.
Yeah,
And,
Yeah.
and so they're wondering.
it's surprising for us too, believe me.
My goodness. So, that seems good. You'll write to Sam about the perk test not being.
I will.
And you guys will get in touch with Lee, and she'll give you the best, most up-to-date information on decomposition and groundwater and wells.
And
Right.
Kat, where do we stand with the map?
Where do we stand with the map? We have a map that actually shows the full boundaries of the cemetery, unlike the first one that we saw that was just within the boundaries. We have that, and that map needs to be updated by a survey showing the wells on the neighboring properties. And Sam, last I knew, seemed to be at work on that, on getting the survey.
All
So
right.
that's where we stand on that. Did I answer the question you asked?
Yes, you did. Because, yeah, we all recognize that we really need that so we can see what's going on with the
Yeah.
boundary.
Well, yeah, especially because this neighbor is insisting that one of those burials is within 100 feet of her well, but the land between the cemetery and her well is so overgrown that we can't confirm that without,
On her side of the fence, because the JCA is pretty much cleared to the fence.
Yeah, I know, but it's on her side of the fence. And I went out there and it's just all, they just moved in 2 years ago and
Right.
they haven't made any improvements that I can see. And so it's all underbrush and stuff.
Okay.
So the other piece that we're missing is more information about what kind of soil testing was done at West Cemetery.
Yeah, and you can get that from Walter.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else you want us to know, Dina?
No, just that that the warmth and cooperation of this conversation was as I anticipated. So
Oh, that's nice to hear.
it's really nice
Thank
to
you.
see all of you, and hi. And yeah, that's really it. We should just keep talking. So keep me posted about anything that comes up, and I'll let you know if the Cemetery Commission has any other questions beyond your question to Walter about the soil testing.
Okay, Board of Health, is there anything else we want to ask Dina or tell Dina while we have her? Doesn't look that way.
Except that I totally appreciate all of this information and your concern and your involvement. Thank you.
You bet. And-
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dina.
Oh, yeah. I really, one of the things I love about the Cemetery Commission is it's one of these little places in town where it's really easy for us to help each other.
Right.
We don't have a whole lot of controversial stuff. Even if there is controversial stuff, it's like, okay, so we roll with it. And
Yeah.
so happy to be in cooperation with all of you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Dina. Good night.
Good night.
Okay, so obviously I need to send Sam an email saying that in lieu of a perk test, we're going to need some kind of soil analysis, and we haven't really determined yet what the appropriate thing will be. Okay. So a couple things. I'll just say that Garrett and I went and looked at the 032 site, and Garrett agreed that there's nothing concerning there for the Board of Health, although somebody really should go clean up the mess, and that's going to happen in the fullness of time. And I had something else, and I forgot to write it down.
Was it your course that you sent the email about? The class?
There is that. Those trainings look really good. If anybody can make it, I know Arlene's going to do it, and I'm going to do it. If anybody else can make it, it looks like good stuff. But it wasn't that. It was the Public Health Excellence Grant. So we have some kind of memorandum of agreement, I guess, and at Noreen's urging, because I forgot last time she asked me to do it, I printed it out and signed it and passed it on to Becky. And Becky is going to have it signed by the select board on Friday. So Noreen, do you want to is there any update on the Public Health Excellence Grant that you want to talk about?
Nothing really specific now, except that there was a meeting on the workforce capacity study and the governor's blueprint for.
Whose phone is that?
That's mine. Hold on. Yeah.
Thank you.
So the state is working on developing a set of performance standards for both persons who work in public health, including health agents and nurses, et cetera, to participate in, as well as boards of health. And we'll be learning more about that in weeks to come. It's probably not going to be issued till this winter or sometime this spring. In
So
terms
when you
of
say, go ahead.
I was changing this up. I was going on to another part of it.
So. Oh, yeah. I wanted to ask you, when you say performance standards, does that mean that they're going to be required trainings for Board of Health members?
Yes, and part of this is to determine what the needs are. That's why this needs assessment is taking place, so that we know what the status is of the kinds of training that our professionals have and what they need. Another sort of obscure part of that survey is apparently there are a lot of old public health laws on the books that we are required to ask questions about and assess as part of this assessment, and which I'm sure even you guys who've been on the Board of Health for many years won't have the answers to. And so we aren't supposed to be terribly nervous about those when they come out, because part of this would be to ask the regulators to get rid of some of those previous laws that are no longer important.
So what are you describing here, Noreen? It sounds like we're going to have to take a test.
No, it's not a test. It's an assessment, and it's just questions about what you do or do not know. You know, they didn't say what's on it. It's called the Workforce Capacity Study, and I think it just assesses mostly for health agents, you know, what kind of credentials they have, what they know about. We might have to produce, for example, a copy of a review we've done of the athletic club to ensure that we've been carrying out inspections, that type of thing.
And when is this going to happen, and how is it going to happen?
It is going to happen within the next, I'm going to guess, month. We're going to get copies. The communities that have been part of this grant for years now, we're in the 4th iteration of this particular grant. So communities like Phoebe's group is going to be getting it right away within the next week or two. And we're going to be getting it later because again, we're just beginning to understand how this grant works and what our obligations are going to be. So it's going to be a bit of time before we get it, but we will each get a copy of it. All of us will be asked to fill it out. And again, we're not to panic or worry about it, but just to fill it out to the best of our knowledge. I'm assuming I'll get copies of it, or Jen Hoffman will in Greenfield, and we'll disseminate it to everyone to fill out. It'll come online. And we're hopeful, I just got an email from Jen that we will actually get our grant award sometime in the next couple of weeks. So just a reminder that the group is meeting. The group, that's the oversight group for the grant, is meeting once a month, the fourth Thursday of the month, early in the morning. And also that we do have a grant overview meeting with the state, if anybody wants to participate in that, and I encourage people to do it, to just get an overview of what this grant is all about and what the
Is that
expectation.
the one on November 2nd?
Correct, yep, 10 to 11:30. So I will forward that as soon as I get the link to it as well.
Thank you.
Anything else we should know about that?
Probably plenty, but I'm not sure that I know it yet either.
Right. Right. Is there anything else that anybody needs or wants to talk about?
I have
Arlene, go ahead.
one minor thing. I just want to run it by people before I pass along a decision, and that is that Katie Harrington, the nurse at the elementary school, just now began her school year. She's been out on medical leave. She's trying to get caught up on some old business. But among other things, she wants to know if the Board of Health still wants to be told about every single case they identify at school. And in the past, she has done so, but the school has also taken care of notifying families of kids who were exposed to that index case. And with the current trends around contact tracing, et cetera, and isolation and quarantine guidance, they are not having communications with other families when they identify a case. And she just wants to know, do we still want to be told? And in the past, it was me to whom she had sent all that information. I think she's right. First of all, not all kids who go to the Shutesbury Elementary School live in Shutesbury. There's a fair number of school choice kids there. And I think I don't need to hear about every single case. I think as it is, I am only hearing about the tip of the iceberg. It's only I'm hardly ever hearing about PCR tests anymore from Maven. It's almost all patient divulged home test results. And I have no way of knowing what percentage of people who test positive are taking the initiative to notify me. And so I report those numbers, but I'm not sure how much meaning they have anymore. I have confidence that Katie and her crew are managing things appropriately. I don't think I have to add to her burden of work to ask her to notify me of every case. Does anybody have thoughts on that or different perspective?
I think it should be entirely up to you.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't always want to be the only one making these decisions without running it by you.
Fair
anyway.
enough, but it seems to me that your call is
Okay.
the reasonable.
I think
All
what
right.
you present sounds very reasonable.
Okay, thank you. I'll get back to her tomorrow. That's all I have.
Anything else we need to hear about or do? I guess not. I guess we can quit. But before we do, I want to ask Noreen if that is Ashfield.
That
In the-
is Main Street in Ashfield,
Yeah, I thought so.
down to the house where I grew up.
Oh, gosh. Sweet.
I love it. I totally love it.
I can
It
see
was my
why.
parents.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a nice painting. Nashville is such a picturesque town.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yeah, the artist did it specifically for my parents. They were friends.
Mm.
Oh, no kidding.
It's a
That's cool.
Stephen Maniotti from Deerfield.
Mhm. Beautiful.
Are you in East Hampton?
I am. For a
Didn't look
few-
like your lake house.
No, no, not exactly.
Okay, well, I guess we could adjourn. I don't see any reason to hang on
Okay.
any longer unless anybody has any, great gossip or anything to tell. Okay, shall we
Great.
adjourn? I don't think we need to
So
vote
moved.
on it. Let's just do it.
Let's
Okay.
do it.
Okay,
Alrighty.
good night.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.